Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel today. Unfortunately, there really hasn't been a whole lot of exciting updates or things that have been going on throughout the week. I did, however, get a new set of scales, which I'll cut those in here. They're Intercom SW500s. You buy the set of scales. They come with this blow mold case that has the head unit itself, as well as all the cables with leads to go to the pads themselves. Now, this case was actually an extra. The scales were $11.50. The case was $2.50. This case is actually really nice though. It's got dividers for each of the pads. These things are heavy too. I couldn't tell you exactly what they weigh, but they are not light. So that's the case. Like I said, it's set up pretty nice. And then it's got these heavy, crazy heavy handles. So obviously you can see how it latches. You see how it latches here. Well, maybe not. Turn this, there we go. You just so you rotate it down, lock it, and then I can lock it with a padlock or something. But it's got these spring assist, huge thick handles. That case is probably something like I'd guess somewhere between 100 and 120 pounds. Can't wait to put these guys to use. I'm pretty excited. Be able to actually see the weight changes that we're making with the car and be able to set the suspension back up in order to make sure that everything is distributed evenly, or the way we want it to be distributed anyway. But yeah, I cannot wait to put these guys to use. For the first few days this week, it has been pretty cold in Michigan. There for a while we were in the teens and 20s, and it's been actually really snowy and windy. And the garage is really drafty out here, so it wasn't really worth my time to try and come out here and try and heat the garage up for 20 or 30 minutes just to do something small. So I kind of just put everything off throughout the week and waited until this weekend, where now it's in the mid 40s, where we had a lot better weather, where I could try and get out here and actually get some stuff done, heat the garage up, and not really consider it a waste of my time, especially with my work schedule. Mondays and Fridays I work till 8, so I get home at 9. Got to be to work at Tuesday at 10 o'clock in the morning, so there's not really leaving me a whole lot of time to try and get the garage warmed up, get something done, go inside, get cleaned up, go to bed, and then be ready for the next day. So like I said, we just kind of put everything on hold with how cold and windy it was. And this weekend I come out here today and we finally got quite a few things done. Earlier, my buddy Matt from Origins was here, and we actually shot a new segment that they're going to show on their channel. As soon as we got that footage ready to go, he'll go ahead and he'll send me the link on everything with that, and then we can go ahead and we'll get that shared to you guys as well, so you can also see that. If you haven't already, I'm going to post a link to his channel if you've never heard of Origins Garage yet. A really good friend of mine. They share some really cool stuff. They got some really neat content. He's pretty good with editing and has some pretty good equipment to work with, so his footage always comes out looking pretty nice there. But today we actually got out here and I finally got my painted intercooler brackets, and I painted the core support of the blue car here last weekend when temperature was a little bit warmer before we got that cold front that come through with all that snow. But we got our brackets on, we got the intercooler on Ricecar here. Didn't really get much else done with this one. I'm not really going to start worrying about this one a whole lot as far as motor and trains and things like that until this one's really ready to go. I am still waiting for the turbo to show up from Turbo Bay. So as soon as that's here, then I'm going to go ahead and pull the head off. But I got a friend of mine, he's actually going to be bringing me his car. And with that car, we're going to be putting a motor, this motor actually, with this manifold, we're going to do a precision turbo on it. But that car is getting a built engine and everything. So I don't really want to get this car apart a whole lot, to where I don't have to worry about trying to put a rag over the engine and a mouse crawling in it or something. But I'm gonna have to store this one outside when that car gets here, so that's why I'm not really in a push to try and get this one completely apart yet, until we're ready to just swing through it and hopefully get it done within like a week, maybe 2 weeks after, with the time we got throughout the weekend and after work. I got the fuel system finished today on the white car. All the lines and everything are made. The fittings are still loose, and I got to change a fuel rail, and I'm actually think I'm going to use a remote mounted fuel pressure sensor just so I can see if there actually is going to be a pressure drop across the rail. Everybody's worried about regulators in front of the rail. We're actually going to get some live data. I'm going to have a sensor at the end of a line that's going to be mounted down here somewhere in this area, and then that will monitor rail fuel pressure, and we'll also have this pressure gauge here on the regulator, so we'll actually be able to see if there's a pressure loss during a pull or not. And if there is, then I will move the regulator to the other side of the rail, but if not, I'm just going to leave it alone. So we got our return line was done already. We got the feed line in today. The regulator to rail line I redid because I did have a 150-degree fitting on here, and it got way too close to the thermostat housing the way the line come down. And if I ran it underneath the PCV to keep it turned back, or the PCV hose here to keep the hose turned back, then it wanted to rub against the cover. So if I set it up like this, PCV line's it's pretty good. You know, it ain't gonna rub through on that. Fuel line is supported here. There's a gap. It's not gonna rub anywhere else. And then I got my feed line that runs down into the core support, that actually goes through a bulkhead fitting, and that's actually fed by the pump. And when I spaced the pump the way I mounted it, here, I'll turn the light on so you guys can see it a little better. So what I did was I took and I drilled the hole and I put a bolt in from the outside, and I used a nut that I tightened it down with so it would sit like a stud, and that nut would also work like a spacer. And then I could just mount this to the bolt as I needed, and then just pull this nut off and not have to worry about trying to fish that bolt around anytime I needed to pull the pump. But hopefully I don't have to do that too many times. I'm not putting this together with the intentions of servicing it, but if I do, it's not going to be a huge pain. So I did my feed line from the pump to the bulkhead fitting. We got the bulkhead fitting in using an existing hole that was already in the car. I just had to make it a little bit bigger. And then I got the line that goes from the cell to the filter in, which I'm really happy with because it's a slow decline, and then into the filter, which is also a slow decline, and then back into the pump. So the pump pickup is lower than the level on the cell. Shouldn't have to worry about fuel pickup issues trying to start the car. Once we get the regulator flowing, it's going to be pushing fuel down. I'm not too concerned at that point, but we got to get it. You got to get it in to get it out. But yeah, so the fuel lines and everything are done currently. Unless I decide to do that sensor, then I got the line. I would just have to buy the adapter for the 1/8 NPT, and I know I could score those right on Summit. That's no big deal. We're also going to add an extra tab off of the fuel cell, so I can swing that over into here to mount that down, so I can hug that guy in a little bit better, give it some more rigidity, and then we're good to run that way. And then maybe throughout this week, if that car's not going to show up until the weekend, what I'll do is I'll get the headlights on, I'll get the bumper set in, and then I will go ahead and get the headlights cut out so I can clear all the fuel lines and everything in the back. Like I said, I was going to gut one anyway just for the weight. It's not going to have headlights in it, so we're just going to have the bracket, basically just a skeleton headlight with the lens that's still on it for airflow. I'm just going to paint it black. We'll have that on this side. We're going to do another one on this side that I'm going to use just the guts of, and then I'm going to try and mold a duct. So I got one that'll feed the intake. So it'll be kind of like a velocity stack headlight kind of deal that we're going to try and build myself. This is the trigger wire for the fuel pump relay. This is what the ECM actually uses to power the fuel pump from the factory. So I'm just going to use that to energize the relay, and that's going to power the pump. So I'll get that wired up too, get all my fittings tight. And then I'll go ahead and I'll probably put a regular 0405 rail on this car throughout the week. Maybe next weekend if we got some free time. It doesn't have this fitting on here, so I can actually try and put some fuel in the car, put some pressure through it, make sure that the regulator is adjusted, and then start it. Make sure that we're not going to have any leaks, and that we're going to be returning a good amount of fuel, that we're not going to have any pressure creeping. I was kind of worried about that 400 liter power pump returning too much fuel with the Dash 4 that went from here to the regulator before, so I'm hoping the Dash 6 will be okay, and that we're not going to run into any pressure drop issues across this rail, which is why I still might end up doing that fuel pressure sensor that's just going to mount to a remote mount to the battery tray down here somewhere. That'll just run a hose down, and we'll get that mounted in, and that way we'll be able to actually monitor what the injectors are seeing for pressure, as well as know what the regulator sees. So once I figure out exactly what I'm going to do with the fuel pressure sensor on this one, like I said, I can go ahead and I'll throw the other rail in it quick, see if we can get the car to start, run, and drive. That way I can actually drive it out and I don't have to worry about pushing it around. But that way when my friend's car gets here, we can go ahead and get that in with no issue. With this one, like I said, I got the intercooler in it today. No real big plans for this one immediately. Once the turbo and everything shows up for the white car, I'll go ahead and we'll focus on getting that done. There's no immediate plans for this blue one. It's just kind of coming together as I get some free time here and there for small things. The biggest thing that I got to do right now is try and get the suspension off the blue car into the white one, because I'm actually going to be putting the 13-inch brakes on the white one instead of this blue one. It has the SXT/RT or base model, whatever you want to call it, knuckles on it, so I can run a 13-inch wheel. I'm going to pull those off and I'm going to get them the knuckle powder coated. We'll slide new bearings in it, and then I'll go ahead and shove that in the white car here, get that one ready for the 13s, or 13-inch brakes, I should say, not 13s. We're way past that. But we'll go ahead and we'll get the brakes and swapped over on that. We're also going to be using the coilovers in this blue one. I still got to swap those over. And then pretty much it's going to be, if I get this car done for my friend quick enough and the turbo shows up, then I'll go ahead and get the turbo swapped out, get the head ported, get the other camshaft installed, and then this car will pretty much be ready to just dial the cam and then get a roll cage and we'll go to the dyno. If the turbo is not here or we don't have enough time when the turbo does show up between the black car and when the roll cage is going to be going in the white car here, which is supposed to be at the end of March. If I don't have that big of a window to work with, I'm not going to do that until the cage is done. So I'll just go ahead, we'll follow the schedule for the roll cage, we'll get the car back home, I'll get the head pulled off, we'll get the turbo swapped out, and we'll get the head ported, we'll shove this baby back together, and then I'll have the turbo available for the blue car here, where I will go ahead and once that black car's done, that stand will be free again, so I can drag this other motor over to my house, get the built cylinder head off of it, put a stock one back on, and then go ahead and I can start assembling the engine for this car, so I can go ahead and put that turbo on it, we'll get the lines and everything hooked up, and then at that point, then I can really start worrying about this blue one, because I will have enough pieces laid out in the right places where I can just go ahead and throw something together quick. So that would be nice, get the motor and trans and everything set in the car. You know, if I get out of work and we got good weather, I could come and I could shove the axles in one night, hook up some of the wires and the lines, get the fuel lines in the car, try and route the nitrous, plumbing. Like I said, I want to wait till I get the motor and trans set in first, get the battery tray in it. Not the battery tray, sorry, because that's actually going to be mounted on the frame rail in front of the driver's tire, but the tray where the battery would be from the factory on top of the trans mount. And then I'll figure out where I want to put the nitrous solenoids, and then I can get those plumbed, and then we can get all that wired. And then once we get to that point, what I'll do is I'll do the wiring harness for the blue one when we're ready for it, and then I'll add the leads in for the window switch for the nitrous system. Figure out where I want to place the jet in the intercooler pipe for the nitrous, and then I can worry about running the line to the solenoid from the tank, and then I'll get my bottle placed and everything in the back. That's pretty much all I really got for you guys this week. Is just we got fuel system done on the white one. That car is just about ready to start again as it is without changing the turbo and anything, so we can actually drive it out of the way, get my buddy's car done. Blue car here, just small things here and there until that white one starts coming apart and I can really make a big move with the turbo and the motor. Getting that other engine over here on that stand is going to be the big thing for me right now, to getting this car actually going somewhere, because there's not really a whole lot else I can do with this one. Powertrain wise, I guess I could do the suspension and the brakes, I can get that swapped over, but like I said, I didn't want to have the white car tore completely apart, have my buddy's car show up and then it's got to wait outside for a couple of days. I wanted to be able to get it here and then park it inside. I can put the white one outside. It's not perfect, so I'm not too concerned with that one just sitting out, getting snowed on a little bit. It did last year and it's not going to hurt it again. So now we're on our way. We're at almost 130 subscribers. Again, once we get to probably 500, I'll do another giveaway. We'll do another one at 1,000, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But yeah, I'm pretty excited to see this segment that we shot today with Origins. As soon as I get some footage from that, maybe I'll give you guys a little sneak peek in this video here if he sends me a piece of the footage before I get this edited and loaded. But if he doesn't, as soon as that goes live, I will definitely be posting the link for you guys to see. There's some other questions in there that he had asked me that I didn't have a chance or didn't think about putting into the intro video to who I was and why I do what I do. So thanks for checking out the channel today, guys. If you haven't already, definitely subscribe. Hit the like button, leave me a comment if you have any questions or something that you might like to see, or if you just want to say, good work, I like it. We're gonna hang this one up for the day, guys. You have yourself a good one, and we will see you at the track. Thanks.